Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this narration of the web series Humans Don't Make Good Familiars. If you are new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Book 2, Chapter 41, Jake's Point of View. I heard somewhere once that crying helps your brain release and process emotions, and that's why you don't feel them as strongly after you cry. What a load of crock. I didn't feel any better by the time I was finished. Just numb, empty, and tired. After I broke down, Suma and I were moved to another room. The Queen came in, followed by 3 others. She talked to Suma, and I listened, sort of. By the end of it, their voices were more like background noise to me as I thought about my mum. What's Mum gonna think? She'll think I'm dead, I thought to myself. She's gonna come into my room, see it empty, and worry. She probably... Man, she'll freak out. What if she goes faint or falls and I'm not there? What if she dies while I'm trapped here? What if... Jake? My spiraling thoughts were interrupted by Suma, and I snapped back to reality. What? I asked. My voice cracked and broke like dropped glass. Are you okay? She asked, concerned. I hadn't noticed it, but I was gripping the vines that I was sitting on so hard that they had splintered. My hands, well, really my whole body, was lightly shaking, and my breathing had gotten heavier again. I don't, I took a deep breath and dropped the splinters from my uneasy hands. I'm fine. Suma's point of view. After being led to a private room, Queen Umpera wanted to talk with us a while longer. However, I believe she actually wished to ask them of Jake, but he was still unable to answer any questions. Of all of us, these events had been the hardest on him. He was used as a weapon, placed on trial, lost control of his mind and body, and had his family, his whole world, stolen from him. Instead, the Queen asked her questions to me, while Jake silently listened, although I suspect he was not. At one point during my conversation with the Queen, Jake had begun breathing heavily again, and even damaged the vine perch I made for him to rest on. When I asked him how he was, he clearly lied and said he was fine. Lady Suma, Sir Sentinel, I need to know what your plans are for the future. Your Majesty, I truly do not know, I said. There was a moment of quiet, and just as I looked at the Queen was going to speak again, Jake said something instead. I'm going to kill him. When he said this, the guards and their familiars looked on edge. What? I asked, surprised. I'm going to kill Deja, Jake said again. His voice sounded different, colder, more intense than I was used to hearing. It didn't sound like it did in the desert, though, when he was being controlled. Then he sounded joyful, even while killing all those mages. But now, it was the hours before the big storm. Killing the Chaos Dragon, Queen Umpera said, is tantamount to impossible. Not even Ambos himself was able to do it. As powerful as you are, Jake, he is a dragon. It will not be so simple, I said. He was silent for a moment. Then I'll go back to trading, back to the army, or I'll stay here in the royal court and train. I don't care. The dragons are powerful beings whose magic surpassed even the greatest mages from their era. Their spells, once used to subjugate rogue dragons, were lost during the Queen tried to explain, but Jake cut her off. I don't care. Hold your words, Asha, one of the Queen's guards yelled. Enough, Queen Umpera said calmly. Sir Sentinel, how would you kill him? Where is he? Have you considered these questions? The guard's puffed feathers lowered slightly, but he was still obviously upset. I don't know, but I think he's near Dragon's Hoard Mountain, Jake said. I was surprised. What? Why do you think that he's in the country? The Queen wondered. Something he once said. When we were in the last time I saw him, and he said that I was standing on his head. I'd been wondering about it for a while, and I'm still not sure, but I think, maybe. It was said that site was once the home to a long-forgotten dragon, but it has been empty since the Chaos Dragon's rampage, the Queen said. I never heard of that, I said, confused. It's a well-protected secret in the royal family. Why? To keep the temple's power in check. Having a massive site of religious importance so close to a major city, and so far from the royal sphere of influence is dangerous. It isn't empty. There are creatures living deep inside, Jake said. Inside? She asked. Yes, large reptiles. We found them when we were training on the mountain, I added. I've not heard of these creatures, but no one has gone inside the mountain in centuries. She turned to one of the guards. Go and check the archives. See if you can find anything related to reptilian creatures inside of Dragon's Hoard. Yes, Your Highness, the guard said. Sent away his familiar, opened the hole in the wall, and flew away. Well, assuming that the Chaos Dragon is truly in Dragon's Hoard somehow, that still leaves the issue of actually killing him, the Queen said. Zachariah fought him, so did Ambos. If they could do it, then so can we. Both of them lived in an era when even the standard mage would have been considered powerful and skilled enough to be recognized as a middle-class or even a high-class mage. Ambos himself was said to possess magic stronger than even royal mages do now. It would take years for you to reach that level, the Queen said. Zachariah already thought of that. Do you mean the memories? I asked, and Jake nodded his head. He said that the memories he put in me could teach me how to use chaos magic. Maybe he included more than that, though. Do you think he also gave you a way to kill the Chaos Dragon? The Queen asked. I would, if it were me. Queen Ampera was quiet for a moment. Awakening the dragon could prove dangerous. Is he not awake and trying to come back? I asked. He attempted to do so through Jake, but what is stopping him from using anyone else? He has not tried anyone else. Perhaps it is only your familiar that allows it to be possible. Maybe. Maybe he needs someone with mana as useful as his was, Jake suggested. There are no Niema with mana that powerful, and familiars with mana like that are practically non-existent. Jake is the only one I have ever heard of with such a powerful mana. Not even the lesser dragons like drakes, salamanders, and vyrums possess anything close, I said. It would seem, Sir Sentinel, that you are necessary for the dragon's return, the Queen said, sounding very serious. Thinking logically, killing you could ensure my kingdom's safety. The guards at her side looked tense. Their familiars began baring their fangs, and they all looked as if they were ready to fight. I could feel my heart beating in my wingtips as I looked over at Jake. He stared coldly at the Queen, glancing occasionally at the guards. The tension in the room felt as if it would choke me. Queen Ampera broke the silence. But what stops any other Niema from any other country doing the same as Lady Suma did, and summoning another Viking? So, will you help us? Jake asked. Yes, you have my full support, Queen Ampera said, as I finally started breathing again. End of chapter. Book 2, Chapter 42. Jake's Point of View. I was sitting in a room the Queen prepared for me in her castle, while talking to Suma over our private connection. I am arriving now when I summon you, she asked. Suma had spent the last few days traveling with escorts, and the captain she arrived at the capital with, Captain Rizoan, back to the base. No, not yet. There are still a few things I want to do here first, and who knows when I'll be here next, I said. How is your training going? She asked, knowing that I needed to do everything I could to prepare. The Queen set up sparring matches between me and some of the royal mages at my request. It hurts, and I haven't won a single time, but I think I'm getting the feel for how Niema fight. Between my fight with Lieutenant Datahu and these guys, I've noticed a few things, such as, I noticed you're all a lot better at three-dimensional combat than me. In the air, I can't hit anything. I've been trying to think of ways to knock Niema out of the air or slow their movements down. I see, Suma said hesitantly. Jake, how have you been these last few days? I'm fine, I said. You have not spent too much time training, have you? I've only had a few days here. I needed every second I could get. Jake, I'm fine, I repeated, then changed the subject quickly. How has your journey been? Uneventful, thank the dragons. Flying through the wastelands is as bad as it was last time, however. Did you find out what you were looking for in the Queen's archives? Nothing useful, and not a word of those reptile things. Ah, sir. Either one has never encountered one of these echoes before, or no one lived to tell anyone, Suma said. Probably. Are you ready, Sir Sentinel? A voice from behind me asked. I looked behind me and saw 3 Niema landing. Yeah, I answered. Suma, I gotta go. It's time for the delve. All right, please contact me afterwards, she said, still sounding concerned. I will, I said. Please lay down here. The Niema, who I noticed lacked their normal glitter, just like my teammate 9, said, gesturing to a magic circle he was creating. I laid down on my back and took a deep breath. I was about to undergo a spell that would help me control when the memories given to me by Zachariah would appear. For my training, I need to be able to access them whenever I need, and not just randomly. The other 2 Niema joined him, and the magic circle tripled in size. Are you ready? He asked. Yeah. Then we will begin. In unison, they began to cast a spell. It took them about a minute to finish. A long, quiet minute. Once they did, I felt a tingle inside my skull, followed by a few seconds of dizziness. We are finished, the Niema said. I sat up at the dizzy feeling, and the tingle went away. When will I know if it worked? You should be able to find the memories now. Feel free to try it at any time, although I do recommend lying down when you do so. I nodded my head and thanked him. With that, they left my room. I laid down on the vine bed again, closed my eyes, and tried to see one of the memories. I need to find something about fighting, I thought. With that, I started to see moments in time flash through my mind, but they were moving too fast to see clearly. I need something about fighting the Yammer, I tried again, more specifically this time. Once again, memories filled my mind, but much more slowly this time. I looked through them like I was swiping on my phone until I find one that kind of felt right. Focusing on it, I was brought into a memory, as if it were just like any other time. I was still locked into Zachariah's point of view, and I still didn't have any control over what happened. But now I could control when they happened. Finally, some good news. It is an impressive weapon, the voice of Amboss said from outside my field of view. My aim needs improvement, Zachariah said, and wrenched an arrow free from the far right side of the wooden target. He turned and walked back to Amboss, who was perched on a wooden post. Strangely, the post looked manlike, not like something the Yammer would build. Why not simply use magic for your ranged attacks? I'm not as good with magic as you are yet, Zachariah said, and slung the bow over his back. What did you call it? Runes suggest otherwise. Runes cannot be used to kill an enemy. Why not? Ambrose asked. Because. I felt something touch Zachariah's chin and lip. How would that? I already know how to use runes, I thought, and started to end the memory before getting an idea. But how are they made? Once again, I sifted through the memory, searching for one about making runes. It took a moment, but I found it. The environment shifted again like a heat haze over concrete, and I was suddenly sitting at a table full of dice, clay, scrolls, and stone working tools. What are you making? Amboss asked. Varthok runes. Before we go to battle, I want to make a spell of protection for us. I've never heard of these runes. What are they? The language of my people. We write our desires into the stone, and they lay inside of the earth, makes the desire come forth. You mentioned that your people's magic was different. May I watch? I can make you one as well, my friend, if you want it. Yes, please, Amboss answered. Zachariah pulled one of the scrolls and some dice towards him. I'll make yours on parchment so that it is lighter. We can tie it to your leg before the battle. Zachariah dipped a blue quill in the ink and drew on the scroll. This rune means strength. He finished and moved to another spot on the scroll. And this one is body. He drew a line connecting the runes at both their tops and bottoms. When they are connected, they will give you strength in combat. How do I use this spell? You mentioned something called a ley. Magic does work differently here. Their ley seems to be all around us in your world. Perhaps some of your magic would make it work better, Zachariah suggested. Amboss nodded his head and placed a wingtip on the rune. A moment later, the rune was glowing faintly red. Fascinating, Amboss said. I've never seen this before. Should we tie it to you? Amboss agreed, and Zachariah tied it to him with a small string. The glittering white sparkle Amboss once had was replaced by what was a bright red one. And with that, the memory ended. His language, are runes just writing? End of chapter. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and patrons: Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnholtz, Bushmaster177, Lord Azrakal, AmbroseKTal, Quantum Wednesday, Drugzoon WRE, and Blueberry Cat. Thank you very much for the support. It is super appreciated.